in federal criminal cases, the government wins 90+% of the time. So just by there's an inherent advantage that the government has going into this. So and they also have the resources of the federal government, right? So there is a big advantage going in, and unfortunately, it takes jurors to pay attention, and it takes good lawyering to try to overcome that great hurdle.
When we speak of good lawyering today during the federal prosecutor's case, Thomas, I thought this was a good point they made. I'm going to read it. It says, she said, this is not an adult woman making an adult choice. She told him, this is speaking of Jane, that I did not want to participate in any more hotel nights. But she knew if she did not go along with it, that he then would cause her harm, whether it be financial or physical harm. I thought that was a good way for federal prosecutors to kind of establish to the jury that a lot of people might want to say, well, these women were strong, capable women making their own choices, but really there was a lot more to it.
Yes, and that is the advantage the government has, right? They're taking behavior between adult consenting or consenting adults, sexual behavior between consenting adults, and what's very difficult to sort of parse is, there are many abusive relationships throughout this country where there are wives and husbands who have all kinds of problems. Doesn't mean they're engaging in a RICO enterprise. But it is a very tactful technique that the government uses, and that's why this type of case is incredibly difficult to defend.
I'm sure, Thomas. Tell us, if you would, please, when you're representing a celebrity like R. Kelly, as you did, or here in this case, these attorneys are representing Diddy, do you feel like it's tough to get the presumption of innocence in the court of public opinion?
Well, that's a very good question, because in Robert's case, there was a mountain of public perception. There was 20 years of back and forth and issues that he had. So it is incredibly difficult, and because the person's in the public eye, and if they're in the public eye for a long period of time, like Robert or Sean Combs, it does sort of interrupt that ability for jurors who for the jury to maybe remain independent or not even to remain independent and not to pass aspersions.
Yeah. I mean, just been so fascinating to watch and see. And I do feel defense counsel is busy preparing tonight. They have their work cut out for them. But I am very confident in their ability to deliver also a very powerful close, Julie.
Yes. I'm sure we're going to see different strategies, aren't we, Kelly? Where the government today, I would say, was very methodical and exceptionally thorough is the best way I could describe it, because they went through every crime element by element and brought back in front of the jury all of the facts. I mean, they left no stone unturned. It was a very long closing argument, and the PowerPoint presentation was exceptional. Kelly and I got to see it where, oh my goodness, they're pulling pieces of the trial transcript. They're playing audio voice messages from Sean Combs. They're showing photographs. It was a very lively closing argument in one sense, where the case came to life, but yet the prosecutor stayed on track in marrying the facts to the elements. Kelly, tomorrow with defense counsel, I'm curious if we may see more passion, pizzazz. What do you think? What do you think will be their take?
Well, defense counsel's argument really is going to have to be a little more storytelling, because when you take a look at the elements, and as you know, as a prosecutor too, you have to satisfy the elements. Well, when the prosecutors are up there saying, we've established this element, this crime is satisfied, defense counsel really has to now weave some sort of narrative, saying again, going back to the fact that these women were making their own decisions. They could leave anytime they want to, and hopefully get one juror to agree with them.
Right. That's a great point, too. Thomas, when we think about that, as a defense attorney, in a case like this, where the stakes are so high and Diddy's liberty is at stake, potentially life in prison if he's convicted of the racketeering conspiracy charge, count number 1, is the focus on a hung jury? I mean, is the focus on an acquittal? How do you play the case? Are you looking hey, if I can just get one or two voting in my favor, or are you hoping to get everyone on that jury siding with you?
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, you'd like a straight across the board acquittal, right, as a defense lawyer. But unfortunately, when you're dealing with a case of this magnitude with the federal government and their resources, it's very difficult to again, get to that full acquittal. And with the facts and how salacious they were, I sat in R. Kelly's case for 6 weeks. And this was during COVID, the masks were on, the jury was brought in and out. And then in R. Kelly's case, there were 80 hours of closing arguments that the government was able to present, which is far different than here. Or maybe it was more like, no, it was about 8 hours. And then the defense argument wasn't very long. And then they also had another hour and a half of rebuttal. Then after that's concluded, they had to listen to jury instructions for 4 hours. So the jury at this point is extremely tired. They've been on this case for 6 weeks. They've been and jurors they're following it. They're being, good public servants. And so it's very difficult to expect that you're going to have 12 people say all not guilty. So while it's preferred, you really have to try to find the juror or two that you can speak to and that you can maybe, convince that, listen, this guy didn't do it.
Yeah.